Here we go, welcome back to Theme Park Worldwide, where it's time for episode 6 of Let's Play Planet Coaster, the London Resort. I tell you what, it feels like I'm whizzing through this series, 6 episodes in already. I've only been playing for 2 weeks, but you know what? I think it's because I've been releasing 2 episodes a week. It just feels like this park is progressing at a rapid rate. Now this episode, as you can see, a bit of a longer one than the past few episodes, and that's because there's so much packed into it. It's kind of split into 3 this episode, starting off for the first 6 minutes or so, finishing off the base camp themed area, and as you can see, I'm now working on the facade for the station area for the wing coaster. Then there's going to be the second part, which is a lot of infrastructure going in, a lot of trees and rocks kind of outside of this area, and then I'm going to be starting work installing another new roller coaster. You've probably seen it already in the thumbnail, and yeah, that is actually going to be as part of the Starport themed area. So lots coming up in this bumper episode of Let's Play Planet Coaster. But yeah, starting off then, of course, with the show building for the wing coaster. Need to make sure the launch has got some theming around, and also completing all the theming inside the building. Now, obviously, the show building was actually one of the first things that I built in this area, going back a good few episodes now. It's been a big build, base camp, but you know what? I am really pleased with it. I think it looks spectacular. And like I said back then, I didn't want this to be some kind of knockoff Jurassic Park. And they clearly stated, the CEO of the London Resort did say, it's not going to be that. It is kind of like a research area. And with the attractions, the names, the themes, and the storylines that we've gone for, I'm really pleased with how this looks. You walk in there and straight away you don't necessarily think it's a dinosaur area. It's kind of like an exploration base, and that is exactly what I wanted for this area. Now, of course, we've also got the 2 flat rides just outside here. You've got the wave swinger that we've got going in, some nice landscaping going into place around there, and also as well we've got the double swinging inverter, and I do actually need names for both of those. They're yet to be named. I thought I'll wait until this episode. I wanted all the focus to be on that dark ride. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, by the way. I'm really pleased with how it came together. And if you haven't already, check out the previous episode to this, number 5, for a full POV of the dark ride that I did name Endeavour, and I'm really pleased with it. I think it turned out great. So yes, check that out, episode 5, if you haven't already seen it. But yes, on this episode, I'd like to get your comments in for name suggestions for the 2 flat rides. Bear in mind, we're in the base camp area. So yes, I would really like to know your suggestions and kind of how we can make them fit in with the names, and a brief storyline. Doesn't need to be anything too in-depth for this one. Got the nice entrance portal going in there for base camp, and yeah, some nice water effects that I've done as triggers, so when the wing coaster's going round, we can make sure that we've got some pretty cool water effects just to kind of add to that, again as a near miss, and also just as kind of a nice opportunity really when you're going round the ride, and for people off ride, to also get some nice effects. So yeah, really, it's just going around filling in some odds and ends with this area. With it being such a big build, it took a long time to do it, but you know what? I am really pleased with how the terrain and the overall landscaping of it has come together. There's been a lot of work with this area off camera, just putting in trees and bushes, and of course, all of the rocks, hashtag rock work, that I've put in throughout this area. It's not very exciting watching me place hundreds of rocks and trees, so I do tend to cut a lot of that out. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how the overall appearance of it is and the look of it. Back over to the wing coaster station, just adding some effects in there, because of course, again, this is another kind of research lab with the story we went with. We've got the queue line there because of course we make sure all the interiors are looking pretty decent. Not a lot I can really do with that waterfall down in the corner, unfortunately. However, when you do get close to it, you can't see it. But yeah, when you zoom out a little bit, the waterfall does look like it's appearing inside. Not a lot I can do with that because I really wanted that waterfall effect. You saw me doing it a couple of minutes ago, just on the exterior of the building. I really wanted to do that because when you look at the concept art officially released by the London Resort, you can see that the building has got these big waterfalls and all the rocks on there. Now, I don't know if that's actually the station building for the coaster. You can't tell. The concept art isn't detailed enough, but I thought it would make a perfect building building to house the queue line and also the launch and station area for this coaster. And talking of the station, you can see me just adding some more details there, trying to make sure it doesn't look too sci-fi, because bear in mind, Starport, the next area we're building, is actually a very modern kind of sci-fi area. However, that's going to be very blue and purple, as I'll talk more about later on in this episode, because like I say, it's kind of in 3 parts, this one. But yeah, it looks really nice out the front there. I'm pleased with that. We're also putting in some quick service dining in here as well. There's going to be four different food and drink options. Jumping one step ahead of myself there, going into this area. And we're just adding some nice mist effects around as well, because I feel like it would have been a bit of a missed opportunity if we didn't do that. Oh, these bad puns. Come on, it is Saturday. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's coming on. Just add some rocks on the top there just to cover up the kind of workings there for the waterfall effects. Obviously, how that would be done in a real park is that the water would just be continuously pumped round up onto the roof and then fall in again from the pool just there. That's how we'd do that effect. So we're over in the restaurant now, the Dino Diner, as it's called. Yeah, we've got some toilets going in there as well, an info booth, and of course the restaurant itself, which is that building on the left, because yeah, this is actually one where guests walk in and it'd be like a table service sit down restaurant. That is something what the London Resort were planning for base camp. So yeah, that's what the Dino Diner is. I've named it just there. Thought that'd fit quite nicely with the area, and yeah, we're just covering that over inside there now, just so when you walk into these, of course, it is realistic just as much on the inside as it is on the outside too. So yeah, that's kind of the end of part 1 of this episode, because now it's time for a few minutes of kind of working on the infrastructure, because infrastructure for a park is a huge thing, and for me, I really like to separate the areas off, and this does look like a park where the areas will be separated beautifully. And that's why I absolutely love the Disney parks, because they like building something called berms, which is basically a hill what runs around the outside or between areas that completely separates it, and then they put trees on top of it. I love that because it makes the areas really immersive, and that is what I'm doing here in my recreation of the London Resort. I say recreation, the park isn't built yet, and it probably isn't going to get built, but you never know. I'm still very skeptical on the actual project, but yeah, let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts down below in the video comments. So yeah, we're just kind of adding some trees, some shrubbery, some planting, and of course some rocks as well. You'll also notice here that I'm going to be putting in some more toilets shortly, just on the edge of the kingdom themed area, that medieval land that I built first. Feels like ages since I built that and the RMC now. It's only been 2 weeks, but it just feels like a long time. It's what I wanted with this part though, for it to progress nicely. And by the end of the next episode, this whole left-hand side of the park, the bigger side of the park, will be complete, because we're going to be, of course, working on the High Street area, which is that undercover glass roof that I've kind of started to put into place. And then yeah, over to the right hand side of the park, where it's pretty much all inside show buildings. But again, I'll talk more about that later on when we have another look at the concept art at the end. So yeah, all this area, I basically just didn't put any trees and stuff in because I wasn't too sure how the rest of the area was going to look. I may have needed to make the lake smaller or bigger. So just to kind of get the scale right. So I didn't want to put all these trees and planting in and then think, oh, I've made the lake too big or too small, and then I've just wasted all my time. So that is the reason really why I didn't put all this in a few episodes back before I started on base camp. I tell you what though, I am happy that base camp's done because it was a big area. I'm ready to move on to the next zone now of this park. You know, I'm more than ready. But I thought before I do that, let's put all this infrastructure in here just to kind of finish this off, so we can kind of look at some nice vistas as well, looking across from the paths, and like you zoom out there now and look at it, and I tell you what, it's really coming together, just filling in all this gap up here. And a big part of this area as well is of course a transition that's going to lead down to Starport, which you can just see I've put in this circular pathway. That is going to be the next themed area, and I'm going to be starting work on that in the next couple of minutes. So it's a sci-fi space themed area. It's also going to be home to a roller coaster, so I'm going to be building that shortly. Now, I've mentioned this quite a bit throughout the episodes. The London Resort made it pretty clear that a high portion of this park would actually be built undercover. So queue lines undercover, even some of the pathways. And this main pathway that runs over kind of from the gardens area outside the Kingdom Land over to the base camp area. They've actually got like a glass cover on it that looks really modern. I've never seen anything quite like it before in a theme park, but I thought we need to add that in because it's quite a staple part of the concept. So what I've literally done is use some glass panels. I've then layered them on top of each other, and then we're just putting these white posts in now to actually support that. So it's like a modern roof structure that covers over this pathway. And yeah, in the concept art, you can see it there. So I thought, I want to add that in because that's a very important part of this park. I'm kind of going the extra mile to some of these details to make sure that we put them in and get them right. And I like the idea of that because it looks like a real nice transitional area. You know, you're crossing over the water, and that kind of gives you a clue as to this more modern kind of research facility into dinosaurs that you're heading into. So yeah, I really quite like that. So and it turned out pretty well as well because, to be honest, that is the same sort of style I'm going to be going for with the High Street, which is the name for the entrance street to the park, which is all fully undercover. Obviously, way back in episode 1, we go back 6 episodes to when I built that white structure. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing, what I've just done there, putting all glass framework on there. And that's going to be coming up in a couple of episodes' time because I am going to build the High Street before I continue on with the right-hand side of the park. I want to kind of work it, you know, in order now with this. I tell you what, all these gardens are looking great, aren't they? And yeah, them jumping spiders are going to have plenty of room to jump about around here, aren't they, if it gets built? If you don't get the joke and you're not laughing, let me just explain. Basically, there's been so many different issues with the real London Resort that they want to build on the peninsula in Kent, and one of them was jumping spiders, believe it or not, that was putting some issues on there, some environmental concerns. So yeah, I thought, let's get that little joke in. But in all seriousness, this park, if it does get built, for them to get the permission, it needs to have green space. It needs to have areas where there can be wildlife and chilled out areas. The concept art shows all these paths and green space. I've built them because I think it looks nice and I'm trying to go my best off the concept art. So yeah, we've gone for this area, kind of like a wildlife habitat, but also a bit of a chilled out no man's land. This isn't part of a themed area. This is just transitional kind of space between the different zones. And we've put some nice benches around there, some picnic benches as well with the umbrellas that are nice. And yeah, we're just making sure we've got all the facilities on there as well, all the bins, some nice permanent lighting, which of course this park would have, with it being a 365 park, and yeah, something that's going to open on an evening. I don't think this park could be closing at 4 o'clock. If it does get built in real life, then no, I think we're going to see some proper decent opening hours for this. So yeah, you know, we're putting all that infrastructure in to make it look right. But yeah, this isn't part of any themed area. It's kind of, you're leaving the High Street, which will be that covered area with all the white supports, and then yeah, making your way through into the different zones, including Starport. So yeah, we're into the third part of this episode now. And this is starting to build my next themed area. This is going to be much smaller than base camp. It's kind of going to be similar size, really, to what we did with the Kingdom. But it's going to be packed with a few different rides. So yeah, as you can see, we've got a few different attractions going in. We've got 2 flats going into the area, 1 thrill, that's a spinning flat ride where the gondolas kind of invert round, and then also we've got this nice spinning family ride as well that moves round, and then it goes over some little bumps as it's spinning round. So we're going to have 1 pathway that runs through into this area, because again, from the concept art, it looks like there's 1 main path, a couple of flat rides can be seen in there, and yeah, a few different structures. Now, something that we can see in the concept art is of course a roller coaster. What type of roller coaster is very hard to see, so I've decided to actually go for a Vekoma booster bike for this area. Now, my reason is because it looks like it's a launch coaster. I wanted something that looks really modern, and also I really like the Tron roller coaster at Shanghai Disneyland that they're actually building at the moment at Magic Kingdom in Florida, set to most likely open next year. It was originally going to be for this year, but it looks like it's a 2023 coaster now. However, I really like the modern feel with that, and with this being a sci-fi modern themed area, again with lots of glass roofs, the colour scheme looks purple and blue. I thought, let's go for that. Now, I completely underestimated how long the launch needed to be there at first, hence why I started putting in the first overbank to the right and then completely demolished it and started again. I made the launch a little bit bigger just so it had some more kick, and then we've gone in with this nice overbank, as you can see there. We're then going up into an airtime hill over the pathway, and then we're going to bank this round to the left hand side towards that pathway. Now, the path I do have to actually change the position of, but you'll see that in a few minutes time when I start with the return back towards the break run. Now, I also thought with this, let's have it nice and interactive with the pathways. Let's again keep it quite low to the ground. From the concepts, all the coasters look like they're pretty low to the ground, not really too high up. So that's what we've kind of gone with this. Even the RMC, you know, it's not massively tall, about what, 140 feet, something like that. But yeah, we're nowhere near like the 200 mark. So let's keep things low and realistic. We're then going to go up into a little bit of airtime before a mid-course break run there. Again, we want to make sure these rides can run on a reasonably good capacity. So that's why we've put in a nice mid-course. It's going to drop down there before, again, turning round towards the right-hand side. Now, obviously, I built that berm to kind of block off the Starport area and base camp, but I've had to sort of dig into it a little bit there, just to bring a little bit more of that back, because I just needed a bit more space for this ride. Now, I didn't want to come any further towards the entrance. I didn't want to bring it any further this way, so I thought let's take it to the left a little bit more, chop out a little bit of the berm that I built, the little raised up hill, and then yeah, we can actually do a nice piece of interaction with the family flat ride, because yeah, I really like it when rides interact with each other. Again, the layouts for all these rides, you know, we can't see that well from the concept art. We don't know what kind of ride this looks to be, but it does seem like another launch coaster, so they're liking the launches at this part by the looks of it, especially with the wing coaster that looks to be on the plans. That's got the 2 launches, so I thought let's go for this. And yeah, you know, I'm really pleased with how that's come together. So yeah, we're going for a nice helix all the way around here, and then yeah, as you can see, it interacts nicely with the flat ride that we got into place. We're then going to go up into a nice bit of airtime there. And this is where the pathway was kind of in the way, to be honest. And I only put the pathway in that position kind of provisionally. You know, it could easily be moved. So that's what I did. I took the pathway out, did a little straight section where there's going to be some theming. Bear in mind, this is going to be a very heavily themed coaster. To be honest, out of all the coasters so far in this park, this looks to be the one with the most theming, because it's got a big glass roof over part of it, lots of kind of purple and blue buildings. We're going to study the concept art in a minute anyway, at the end of the episode. God, it's gone quick. But yeah, that's the kind of plan with this. So I'll show you an on-ride POV shortly. Firstly, just going to put the queue lines into place. I like to do this just so I've got an idea on the area. And the good thing is with this, you know, that this area is going to come together quick. Next episode, this is all going to be finished. Kindly ask that you refrain from commenting any names for these rides yet. Want to focus on the wave swinger and the double swinging inverter that are in the base camp area. So get them names coming in. I'll be asking for all your names for these in the next episode, number 7. So yes, bear that in mind, please. And just so it doesn't get too confusing in the video comments. But yeah, queue lines going in for these. And again, from the concept art, it was quite hard to tell exactly what rides were in this area. Now, I thought that with this being a sci-fi area, a drop tower would fit in really well. Now, I can't necessarily see one on the concept art. Again, things are subject to change. We don't know exactly what's going to be there. Some of the past concept art has shown things that look like drop towers. So I thought, let's add one in to this area. Now, I thought this would be the perfect spot, interacting there with the bank round to the right on the coaster. So yeah, I've added in a drop tower into this area where you're going to get a nice overview. It's only one of the smaller ones, but I thought you'd get a really nice overview of the park and some fantastic views from on there as well, from on the ride. So yeah, we've got 4 rides in this area, 2 flats, the drop tower and the coaster, and that's come together nicely. And the next episode, I'm going to be completely theming up all of this. There's going to be a glass dome over some of it. Of course, we've got the main building for the coaster. The flat rides are going to be outside, but there's going to be some other buildings all the way around this as well. So let's go for a ride. Hands in the air, viewers. Let's go on the coaster. And there we go, straight up into that nice overbank there. We're dropping down nice and smooth into an airtime hill. Picks up the pace, this, doesn't it? Quite a fast ride. As we can see, dropping round to the right. And up we go, double down just there. Quite a nice element that I love on a ride. We're going up into the mid-course brake run. Of course, allowing that second train to dispatch now, if it's clear. Yeah, bang round to the right, up into a couple more dips and drops, into a bit of helix, all the way around. Yeah, great interaction there with the flat ride that I am loving. A little bit of airtime, straight section that's going to be part of a building, and then up into the brake run. But there we go, we're near at the end of the episode, but we're going to just quickly have a look at the concept art. So here's a kind of overview look at what I've done. So there you go, that's this side of the park, all the areas that we've done. And yeah, here's a look at the concept art. And yeah, as you can see from that, it's looking pretty good, isn't it, with the lake just there? We can see base camp off to the left, we can see the kingdom up to the top, High Street off to the right, and of course Starport that I'm now working on. And then here's another look just there, all the way across the area that I've built from another angle. But there we go. That's the end of the episode. Hope that you've enjoyed it. Get your suggestions coming in for them 2 flat rides that are in base camp. And I'll be back again for you on Wednesday with another episode of Let's Play Planet Coaster here on Theme Park Worldwide. Thank you for watching and joining me. I look forward to reading all of your comments as always. And get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.